Thanks for joining me today. We are going to be making Easter egg centerpieces or floral arrangements with Easter eggs. And I just think it's just a beautiful sign of spring. And I just love the Easter eggs in the bottom. So let's get started. We're going to start on the eggs. Now these eggs were from the Dollar Tree, the luminescent ones. And the other day I used my mom's flower punch, and I punched out a whole container full of flowers. Now I had this in mind all along, so here we're going to do it. So I used actually cardstock to punch out the flowers. I think it might even have been better if we had just a thinner paper to do this with. So I'm going to be using my stash of punch flowers here in Mod Podge to attach them onto the eggs. So because they are made of cardstock, it's a really good idea. Just use the end of the paintbrush to curl the ends down. They're kind of stiff and they take a bit to soften with the Mod Podge. So just curl them a little bit before sticking them on. So I kind of like contrasting colors. So I was just kind of sizing up different colors to see what looks best on the egg. I decided to go with the pink here in this instance. So what I did is I directly just put a little dab of Mod Podge right onto the egg, and then I used the paintbrush to spread it around. I put the flower on top of it, and then really had to press it quite a bit to get it to stick because it is cardstock. It's not just thin paper. It does soften and it does attach, but it takes just a little bit of, pressing on it and working on it to get it to stick. So I had some smaller little flowers that I wanted in the center. So I'm just applying the smaller punch flower in the center. I thought, well, maybe I'll have some of them kind of stick up in the center to look like, I don't know, a double image. And I have a whole container here full of rhinestones from the Dollar Tree. They sell them a whole container full for $2, and you get a huge supply like that. That was one container. So I'm going to apply the next flower. Now I wanted the flowers to be somewhat uniform, so the size and the punch is the same, and I used only 3 colors. So you can pick any colors you like and add as much color as you like, but I wanted it slightly muted and not too bold. And this is a project anyone can do. I've got my son here. He had a few minutes, so I said, hey, why don't you do it with me? So we're having some fun together. Appreciate your support. Please hit like and subscribe, and then hit the little bell to see upcoming videos. So we decorated 6 eggs. We're going to be putting them in the base of 2 vases. So I didn't want it over full, and so it depends on the size of the egg that you use and how big of a vase that you're going to be putting them in. So if you use the smaller eggs, you might want to make a few more, but these are the medium-sized eggs, so I think we did 3 each. So the cardstock does take a little bit of pressure and pressing on to get them to stick, but they do stick pretty well. And here Jay's just putting on the rhinestones just in the center. Use any colors you like. We have quite a variety, and I think it looks really cute. So here's our little egg selection. I think they worked out really well. Now let's put our vase together. So I picked out 2 vases that have a fair size space in the center. And what we're going to do is put some moss in the bottom. So I used 1 package of moss from the Dollar Tree. So just break it up a little bit because it comes out a little bit chunky. And I used just 1 package for both vases, so just half a package in each one. My goal was to nestle the eggs into the moss so it looks maybe a little more natural. Now, if you ever worked with moss, you know this stuff is crazy messy. So I just used one of these little floor dusters to just wipe the inside of the vase just to get some of that moss off and just give it a little bit of a wipe down because that moss just gets everywhere. So now I'm just going to nestle the eggs in the base of the vase here. So I'm just going to put 3 in the bottom of each one. And just take a few minutes just to, make a little groove or a little space for them to work into. Pull the moss up around it just so they look a little bit nestled. So the only thing I actually bought for this project was the luminescent eggs and the 1 package of moss. It was actually left over from last year, but we'll say that I bought it. So here I am just putting together a little grouping of flowers. So I wanted to do 2 vases just to give you an idea of how different colors or combinations look. So, and different style of vase. And so this arrangement I'm just going to make purely with white flowers. So I'm just kind of seeing what works and what I have. Like I say, I did not buy 1 flower for this arrangement here. And here I am just putting together the next arrangement of flowers. So I'm just want to do a grouping and then just kind of push them in the center of the vase. These flowers are all leftovers from other projects that I picked apart after spring was over last year. Now, guess what? A bunch of them are too short. So what I'm going to do is make them tall again. So I'm just taping them onto taller branches. And here I am attaching a gladiola onto a pussy willow branch, but it just makes it a bit taller and sits better in the vase. I highly recommend keeping the materials from past projects and so that you can reuse them. Like in this case, I'm going to use it in this project so I don't have to spend too much money and I still have a very effective project and have materials to work with. So I decided I want to add a little bit more to the white vase so it's a bit taller. So again, I'm just propping up some of my shorter stems, attaching them onto the pussy willows just to make them a bit taller. And then we're going to just attach these 2 roses together. They could come quite naturally like that. So I'm just putting one on top of the other just to give it some height. So what do you think? I love it. I think it's so cute. I had so much fun making this. I hope you give it a try and we'll see you next time.